2 on live. Okay, so we're going to learn the Maimer, Parshas Ki Savo, on page 3 in these pamphlets. As one might know, so the Maimarim, besides the Chassidische Parsha and explaining the insight, the Alter Rebbe's insight in the Parsha, so as we get closer, especially when there's a time of year, but especially the time of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, so the Alter Rebbe weaves that in as well to the Parsha. It's not only is because it's negea to understand the Chassidische Parsha, but he brings out the Avodah of the time that we're in, which is central to the year. And so this Maimer is no different. So even though the Alter Rebbe starts off seemingly a Maimer on some of the psukim in this week's parsha, but as you will come to know very quickly, the Alter Rebbe immediately anchors us to focus on where we are on the time of year, which is a preparation of Rosh Hashanah, Asar Simei Tshuva, Yom Kippur, etc. As it's clear from the Maimarim of the Alter Rebbe, it's not different times, but each one is a build-up to the next. So in this particular Maimer, the target is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the focal point that we're getting to. The question is how we get to Yom Kippur. But Yom Kippur is the target. This is the culmination of all the Avodah of Rosh Hashanah and of Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Asar Simei Tshuva, and then culminating on Yom Kippur. Other Maimarim, not this Maimer, they continue and show us the continuation of that Avodah. What happens after Yom Kippur? The days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and in Sukkot itself, there's different. There are different stages. But over here, the main thing is Yom Kippur. What's unique about Yom Kippur? So, what the Alter Rebbe is going to explain, the Yom Kippur, the uftu, the chidush, is different than one might think when you observe Yom Kippur, just as a day observed on the Jewish calendar. So Yom Kippur is very much about averis, about kaparas and tzedakah, and but tzedakah with the feeling of tshuva and repentance and removing all the averis that you did the whole year, and then in the time of Yom Kippur you have the Chamishi Inuyim, the 5 things that you need to do in order to bring discomfort to yourself with fasting, etc., etc., etc. And all those are true. And you open up Shulchan Aruch, that's halachas regarding Yom Kippur. But what is the depth of that? What is the neshama of that? So the depth of that is that on Yom Kippur, what's happening is that we are revealing this covenant that we have with the Eibusher. What's the idea of a covenant? So just like Begashmis, the Alter Rebbe explains it more in Parshas Nitzavim, but just like Begashmis, a covenant is when you have 2 people. So if they love each other, but life has challenges, so different things happen. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, and that love, that connection is challenged, and b'meila, because that connection is challenged, so now it brings a rift, a separation between them, and the love is not there like it was. But when a bris happens, when you make a covenant, so a covenant means that it's meant to create that friendship, that love, that connection, that it should withstand all the challenges. how does that work? Is it just self-discipline? So now that, because self-discipline, when you come to a realization that such and such needs to happen, and therefore, because of that, I know that there's going to be a storm, and therefore I want to weather the storm. In other words, in my machshava, that doesn't seem to need a bris. A bris is something much deeper than that. That's something that is that's a lot more shallow than a bris. A bris is the pshat that you're forging a connection which is deeper than any level that can be affected by the turbulence of life. So in other words, it's indicating and expressing that we are one. We are one. In other words, our connection is deeper, and therefore anything that happens, just like a person to himself, there are times where he has different stages of his life, but he always loves himself. The love that he has, because it's him. When the connection of when the bris is forged, so the connection is so deep that just like the bris of bris ben Amsarim, which is the bris that Avraham Avinu did with the Eibishter. So what was the ritual that happened? What took place? That was indicative, that expressed the whole idea of what a bris is. Avraham Avinu took an animal and he split it and he put it on both sides and they walked in between. What's the idea of taking an animal and putting on both sides to indicate that really that those that are involved in making the bris were really one. So just like the animal, even though it's split in two, it's really one animal. So too the message is that we're really one. So the bris that takes place on Yom Kippur, which is the culmination that happens on Yom Kippur, so that is the realization and the awareness that really we are one with the Eibishter, we are one with Hashem. That's the bris. So in order to get there, we have to go through the process of, and therefore, like we said before, the halacha about the Chamisha Inuyim is just like in Gan Eden, just like in a place when we're basking in the Shekhinah. So there's no achila, and Olam Haba, there's no achila, and there's no shtia, there's no food, and there's no drink. Not mitzad, yes, but b'chitzonius, with Pashas, it comes out that it's kind of, we're afflicting ourselves. But really what we are is we're on such a high madrega, we're in such a high place, we revealed that connection with the Eibishter, that bris, that covenant with the Eibishter, that oneness with the Eibishter, that over there, there's just basking in the Shekhinah. There's no achila, no shtia. So that's the depth of what Yom Kippur is. But again, in order to get there, we need to go through the avodah of Rosh Hashanah and Aseret Simei Tshuva. So that's where the Alter Rebbe is going with in this Maimer. But now let's go back to the parsha and let's see how this all ties in, how this all develops. The Rebbe, if you look in just wanted to mention that in note 1, where usually he says when this Maimer was said, the Maimer was said Shabbos before Slichus, Tav Kuf Nun Zayin, which is 1797, 96, or if it's Tav Kuf Zayin, so it would be 97. Shabbos Parshas Tzaveh, Chayel. It's a Maimer that was said Chayel, which means that the Maimer Tav Kuf Nun Zayin means it's a Maimer that was said before Peterburg. And the significance of that is usually the Maimer that were said before Peterburg are much shorter and less explained than the Maimarim afterwards. But Al Kapanim, the Rebbe says that he questions with an apology, because like who are we to question but we need to understand, because that's what Hashem wants from us in our Chachma, Bin and Das. But he questions why the Tzemach Tzedek chose as the first Maimer in this week's Parsha, the Maimer which is not on the first opening words of the Parsha, which there are Maimarim, not that there aren't Maimarim. There are Maimarim that the Rebbe said on the beginning of Likutei Ki Savo. But the Tzemach Tzedek Dafka chose the pasuk of Hayom Hazeh, which is about 10 psukim into the parsha, and the Rebbe doesn't really answer the question in the Maimer, but based on the Maimer, it seems that really the Hayom Hazeh, the psukim that the Tzemach Tzedek chose, actually brings out is actually connected and brings out the idea of Hayom Ki Savo L'Aretz. In other words, Hayom Ki Savo L'Aretz is the beginning of the coming into Eretz Yisrael. But really, the pasuk that he chooses is bringing out what the significance of that is. So it's a continuation of that. Akopanim. Hayom Hazeh Havaya Likecho Mitzav Chalas Yizachu Kamei Leves HaMishpatim. Moshe Rabbeinu concludes discussing all the mitzvahs that he this begins from Dvarim Elu Dvarim Shediber Moshe, and Moshe Rabbeinu concludes Hayom Hazeh, you're now going into Eretz Yisrael, and the Eibusher commanded you v'shamarta v'asisa meisam. So now he's telling the Yidden to be careful and to keep the mitzvahs b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha. And then he says, as Hashem Marta Hayom. So Hashem Marta is you exalted Hashem, and Hashem Mircha is Hashem exalted you. You exalted Hashem different than all the other nations, and Hashem exalted you different than all the other nations. Similar to what we do when we put tefillin on. So tefillin, what does it say in the Hashem's tefillin? It says, Mika Amcha Yisrael Ge'echad Ba'aretz. Who is like you, the nation, one nation on earth? Which Chassidus explains, what do you mean one nation? That you bring down the oneness of Hashem in the world. A Yid, and through his Aveda, brings down that Achdus Hashem. What is written in our tefillin? Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. So we are saying, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is the equivalent as Hashem Marta. We are proclaiming the oneness of Hashem, and as Hashem Mircha is proclaiming our oneness. So that's Marta and Mircha. Marta is what we're doing, and Mircha is what Hashem's doing. Okay. Slahavin Pirush Hayom Hazeh. So it doesn't say which day. It's understood. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying this before they go into Eretz Yisrael. But the Torah doesn't say. Similar we find in the next week's parsha. It says, Atem nitzavim hayom. You are standing today. It doesn't say which day. In Svarim it says that when it says hayom, stam, it doesn't say which day. So the significance of that is that it's referring to the day of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is known as Hayom, the day. And the source of that is actually a Targum Yonasan. It's a Targum that says that Rosh Hashanah refers to, Hayom rather refers to the day of Rosh Hashanah. So the Alter Rebbe here, Lahavim Pirush Hayom Hazeh v'leiksivei ziyom. It doesn't say which day. Mishum da'amikra mechubel l'parsha l'mayla imenu. So this pasuk is connected to the pasuk prior to it. In other words, the pasuk Hayom Hazeh is actually a continuation to the pasuk, the previous pasuk, which that pasuk is almost a ending of from V'haya Ki Savo L'Aretz. If you look in the Chumash, V'haya Ki Savo L'Aretz, and then where to Eretz Zavas Chalav Dvash. This is the Eibush is taking us to the land flowing with milk and honey. So the pasuk Hayom Hazeh is a continuation of the continuation of Dvash. Eretz Zavas Chalav Dvash. Shekoydim shnichnasu la'aretz haya krisis bris. Before they went into Eretz Yisrael, there was a krisis bris, there was a covenant. Al kabbalah satira. Milvada bris shekara sitam b'chiriv. We spoke about what a bris is in the beginning, what a covenant means. But the covenant was, again, a covenant, not only when they got to Torah, there was a covenant, but now, before they're going into Eretz Yisrael, again, there was a covenant. This is what it means, Hayom hazeh, dahainu b'shas knesas haaretz. That's when they were going into Eretz Yisrael. When they were going into Eretz Yisrael, this covenant, again, there was a covenant, a second covenant made between the Eibishter and the Yidden. V'lachein udvash, to show. So Hayom hazeh it doesn't say which day. The Alter Rebbe is saying before we get to Rosh Hashanah, it doesn't say which day because it's a continuation of the previous psukim. The previous psukim are talking about the Yidden are coming into Eretz Yisrael. So Hayom hazeh doesn't have to say which day because it's self-understood from the fact that it's a continuation of what we said before. To illustrate the fact that it's connected, the pasuk Hayom hazeh to the pasuk of Eretz Zavas Chalav Udvash, and more specifically the word Udvash, meaning Eretz Yisrael. So Alter Rebbe brings a very interesting Tikkunei Zohar. The Zohar, this piece in Tikkunei Zohar, speaks about. You might be aware of this, but there's 12 different tzirufim, combinations of Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and each one corresponds to a different month of the year. More specifically, the tzirufim have are connected with the seasons, or every quarter, every 3 months. So you have now El Tishrei Cheshvan, and then or it's Tishrei Cheshvan Kislev, and then it goes on throughout the year. So there it says that specifically Tishrei is connected with the tziruf of Yud Kei Vav Kei is Vav Kei Kei Yud. That's in other words, it's a tziruf of the name of Hashem. So, and in each tziruf, it brings a pasuk to illustrate that tziruf. And there in the Likutei Torah brings this pasuk, Udvash Hayom hazeh Havaya. Havaya is Yud Kei Vav Kei. So Udvash Hayom hazeh Yud Kei Vav Kei is Vav Kei Kei Yud. So that's the tziruf. So from there we see, from this Tikkunei Zohar, we see that it's real. It's one, meaning the pasuk. It's not a separate pasuk that begins from Hayom hazeh, but it's a continuation from the word Udvash. V'lachein Udvash Hayom hazeh Havaya Rosh Hashanah tziruf Havaya achas. Sha'avav shel Udvash shebeparsha Rishona mechuber lemikra shelamata imenu ke'akol inyan echad. V'hinei b'chinas Eretz Yisrael hu b'chinas Torah shebal peh. So Eretz Yisrael is Eretz. There's different things that are Eretz. The word Eretz has different meanings, different connotations. So it's sometimes, and the Alter Rebbe actually brings this in the Tzemach Tzedek, makes reference to the first Maimer in Torah. The Alter Rebbe says there are 3 things that are called Eretz. The Eretz is Knesset Yisrael. The Yidden are referred to as Eretz, and Eretz is referred to Torah, Torah Shebal Peh, and mitzvahs. Akopanim, here we're saying that Eretz Yisrael is Torah Shebal Peh. Ki bechinas Yisrael. So Eretz Yisrael means Eretz which receives from Yisrael. Yisrael is Adam, v'hu k'mei shekasu v'al d'mus ha'kisei d'mus k'marei Adam, v'zeu Torah shebiksav. The idea of Adam is connected with Torah shebiksav, and Eretz Yisrael, meaning the Eretz which receives from Yisrael, receives from Adam, that's Torah shebal peh, bechinas v'eretz hadeim raglei. That the Eretz is hadeim raglei, is my footstool. Meaning that dafka through Eretz, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain where do you have, where's the regel refers to the lowest part of the person, which is when you talk about the person and all his faculties. So the lowest part is in the Maisa, in the way he executes things. Where do you have the Indian of Maisa? You have Maisa specifically as a result of Torah Sheval Peh. Because without Torah Sheval Peh, you don't know what you need to do. And as Alter Rebbe will bring an example of Tefillin. If you read the Parsha of Tefillin in the Torah, you're not going to know what color they are. You don't know what the shape. You don't know anything. Really, it's cryptic. So how do you know the Maisa? What brings out the Maisa? The Maisa is brought out because of Torah Sheval Peh. And that's what the Alter Rebbe says, Dvash, Eretz Zavas Chalav Dvash. The Eretz, which is the Maisa, right, to know the mitzvahs and how to do the mitzvahs, and all the halachas, the laws about the mitzvahs. Only that will bring, that flows with honey. That honey refers to the depth of the secrets of the Torah. People got it all wrong with all the Kabbalah stuff. That they think you can go to the secrets of Torah and the esoteric aspects of Torah as a subject in its own. It flows from the Aretz. First, you have to know the halachas of Torah. You have to know Torah. That's the mechanics of Torah. That's all, how to do the mitzvahs and to be able to perform the mitzvahs. And from there flows the Dvash. From there flows the secrets of the Torah, the esoteric part of Torah, not the other way around. So that's what the Alter Rebbe says here. Even though it's the lowest part, it's Asiyah. It's the regel and the seif ma'isa, which is what? From achshava tchila. The b'chinas adam anal, ala shiyardim neslab shemakim gevaya lemakim namuch. From a makim gevaya, which is the machshava, seif ma'isa b'machshava tchila. Just like the mashal, when someone builds a house, so he has the plan in his machshava. Where do you see that? Where does that emerge from? It emerges from the ma'isa, the seif ma'isa, when it's a finished product. The nikra eretz zavas chalav dvash, ki dvash v'chalav tachas l'sheinich. That refers to a pasuk in Shir Hashirim, which tells you that dvash and chalav refer to the sisei Torah, the secrets of Torah, the esoteric part of Torah. Lefi sheyesh ba mesikus, because it has sweetness. The hein taimei Torah. That's where you see the sweetness of Torah. That's in the Sisrei Torah, in the secrets of the Torah. V'hakol nimshach v'nishva mechinas eretz, and that comes all from, it emerges from the Aretz. Kisoif ma'isa machshava tchila v'yev shelahasik taimei Torah v'sidiseh. You cannot appreciate and grasp the taimei Torah v'sidiseh, its secrets, im lo ya'idei yediyas ha'Torah sheval peh. If you don't know Torah sheval peh, kamei l'mashal. The mashal Alter Rebbe gives is melech shebein binyan before, a melech that builds a beautiful palace. The av shelahasik chachmas ritzene shebinyan, you can't appreciate the chachma and the ratzon of the melech in the binyan, binyan and before you complete. Before the binyan is completed, you can't really appreciate it. Once the binyan is completed, then you can see it, then you can appreciate it. In the same vein, when can you appreciate, when can you have the sisrei Torah, the esoteric aspects of the Torah, the taimei Torah, the dvash and chalav of Torah, only after you appreciate the Torah, which is through Torah Sheval Peh. And that's what he finishes up. Where is that shleimus? In the mashal, the shleimus of the binyan, of the building. And where is the shleimus in Torah? That's true al pi Torah sheval peh. Asher ba gilu ritzeini yisbarach. There is where the Eibusher revealed what he wants. That's the will of Hashem. Ki al pi Torah shebiksav iev shalei shum inyan, shum din al buryeh. Bilti Pirush Gemara. You can't know anything clearly without the explanation of the Gemara. In other words, Torah Sheval Peh. Kamei drashas teitaf ishabetfilin uchetzeben ve'echem nichtavim ve'kol prati diktukeyim. All the different laws you can't know. Only because of Torah Sheval Peh we know how tefillah need to be. So only through that. So the Alter Rebbe ends off this first piece, that Havaya, the Udvash, Hashem, Es Hashem. Hamarta Hayom Hazeh, rather Havaya. So that's the vav of Udvash Mechuber Hayom Hazeh Havaya. This B'tzir Shem Havaya Achas. So the vav of Udvash and Hayom Hazeh Havaya, which is the vav again, the vav KK Yud. Okay, the vav K, and that's one Havaya. That's the Krisas Bris. That's the covenant that was made when they went into Eretz Yisrael. So now we're going to take this point, and like we said in the beginning, and explain it how this is connected with the time. In other words, this is connected with Rosh Hashanah, Sarsi Metshuva, and Yom Kippur. As we said, Yom Kippur is where the idea of that's where the bris is fully realized, fully developed. Is but what happens by Yom Kippur, but everything else is a build up to that. So hine yesh b'chinas olam shana nefesh. And this is from Sefer Yetzirah. You have three aspects. The world, you have almost like three dimensions. You have the dimension of space, you have the dimension of time, and you have the dimension of nefesh, chayes. Each one, when you have an inyan of krisas bris, so the krisas bris needs to permeate in all three aspects. In makim, in space, that's going into Eretz Yisrael. That's where the Krisas Bris happens. The covenant happens going into Eretz Yisrael. In time, that happens that's going into the new year. That's Shana. And then you have Nefesh. So Nefesh refers to the person in his Nefesh to reveal that connection, the connection with the Eibishter, as we said before, the message of what Krisas Bris is. So here the Alter Rebbe goes from Makim to the inyan of Shana. In other words, from Olam, which is Makim, to the inyan of Shana. V'inei yesh b'chinas Olam Shana Nefesh, ki k'mish yesh b'chinas Zuba Olam. Ki yesh b'shan, just like we said, there was this idea of Krisas Bris, how it's represented in Makim, which is going into Eretz Yisrael. So kach yesh b'shana. So too, there is the Krisas Bris in the year. When does that happen? That's Rosh Hashanah. So that's why we read this parsha, the parsha of Ki Savo, we read it before Rosh Hashanah. Ki hayom hazeh koyal Rosh Hashanah. The words hayom hazeh, that which before we explained going into Eretz Yisrael, but the word hayom hazeh is going on Rosh Hashanah. As we said in the beginning, that's brought down that when it says Hayom Stam, that without saying which day, that refers to Rosh Hashanah. Or Bechol Shana, Kodim Rosh Hashanah, before every year, before Rosh Hashanah, Tzarech Krisas Bris Mechadesh Al Kabbalas HaTorah. We need a renewal of the Krisas Bris, of this covenant, a renewal every year on the receiving of the Torah. Sheberosh Hashanah hu bechinas, and that's what it says in the pasuk. Mitzav chalas achukim. Moshe Rabbeinu said, "You're commanded to do the mitzvahs. This is a renewal every year before Rosh Hashanah. This tzivuy, this Kabbalas HaTorah, receiving the Torah, the Krisas Bris on receiving of the Torah. That's what happens before Rosh Hashanah. V'lachein Rosh Hashanah, Nik Rosh Hashanah, v'lei Tchilas Hashanah. So that's why it's called Rosh Hashanah, and not Tchilas Hashanah. Why isn't it called the beginning of the year? It's called the head of the year. Ki k'mish yesh b'chinas reish b'nefesh. Just like you have a reish, in the nefesh, reish v'seichel l'gabi aguf, as kach yesh b'chinas reish b'shana, v'reish Hashanah. So this, just like you have it, we said these are all connected. This dimension of makim, and Zman, and Nefesh. So this, we see the relationship between Zman and Nefesh, just like in Nefesh. So you have the Reish, and then you have the rest of the body. So too in Zman, you have the Reish, and you have, and then you have the rest of the year. V'hinei. Okay, we have to stop.
Thank you.